Hello, sports fans. It is Tuesday, September the 15th, the year 2015. And as always, a lot to get to in the sports world, so let's get it going right now. Great to be back with you guys. NFL picks for week number 2 and college football picks for week number 3 coming up right now. I'm going to give you the NFL picks right off the bat. That's what you guys wanted. You wanted the NFL first, so I'm going to give you the NFL picks right now. So without further ado, let's go to our NFL picks for week number 2 in the league with a play for pay. And let's start off with a Donnybrook on Thursday night with the Kansas City Chiefs at home on -3 against the Denver Broncos. Kansas City and Denver, both 1-0. Both had nice victories in week 1. I'll tell you, this is a fabulous Thursday night game. If you've ever been to Arrowhead Stadium, you know what an impossible place to play it is. I mean, the fans are tremendous. I mean, they're all over the opposing team. They're all decked out in red. It is so loud in Arrowhead Stadium. This is a very tough place to play. I am going to go with Kansas City here. It's a tough game, believe me. If you like Denver, I could definitely say that. I'm going to go with Kansas City. I think the crowd... I think the short week for Denver, I always like the home teams on Thursday night. Denver had a tough physical game against Baltimore. Now they got to go on the road. They got to travel. That's, 1 day less of preparation. Baltimore can really physically weigh you down. It takes a long time to recover from playing Baltimore. Denver's got a short week. They got to travel to Kansas City. Kansas City had a nice win against Houston. Kansas City's home opener. And Peyton Manning showed some signs last week of finally getting old. He kind of looked like an old elephant. Now, I know Baltimore can make you look bad, but Peyton Manning's starting to look like an old elephant a little bit to me. A lot of dinking, a lot of dunking. Now, Denver's still got a solid team. I mean, they got a good pass rush. They got the good running game. They got, the good wideouts. And Peyton Manning can still get things done. But I think in this spot, this is asking a lot for Denver and Peyton Manning. Like I said, short week, you got to travel, 1 day less of preparation. You just came off a physical game against Baltimore, and you got to go into this hostile environment against a very solid Kansas City Chiefs team. I like the Chiefs here. This is a fabulous Thursday night game, a must-watch Thursday night game, but I'm going to take the Chiefs -3 against the Denver Broncos. That's pick number 1. Let's go to the Sunday games. Pick number 2, let's go down to Carolina, where the Carolina Panthers are -3.5 against the Houston Texans. Carolina had a ho-hum type of win against Jacksonville. Jacksonville basically handed them that game. Houston, 0-1, had a very bad performance against Kansas City. We don't know who's quarterbacking Houston. Is it going to be Hoyer? Is it going to be Mallett? I personally would go with Mallett. I think we've seen enough of Hoyer. We know what he can do, and most importantly, what he cannot do. I will give Mallett the shot at quarterback. I hope that's where Houston goes. Houston really misses Foster at running back. They had no running game last week. I think Houston is going to be much better this week than they were last week. I think their defense is going to keep them in the game this week. I think Carolina is going to have all sorts of problems scoring. Remember, Carolina's best receiver is out for the year. I think this is another one of these 15-12, knock them out, drag them out, defensive battles that could go either way. Being the spread's 3.5, I'm going to take Houston coming off a bad loss. I think they're going to start a little quicker this week. I mean, they were out of the game before you blinked an eye last week. Their defense is better than that. I mean, Hoyer basically gave the game away last week. I think Houston gets into the game early here. I think Houston's defense can carry the day and beat a Carolina team that had trouble scoring on Jacksonville. I think this is a 15-12 game either way. I'll take Houston +3.5. I'm hoping they start Mallett, keep Hoyer on the bench. Pick number 3. Let's go down to the Superdome in New Orleans, where the New Orleans Saints are -10 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Saints dropped one in the desert to Arizona last week. Tampa Bay set football back 400 years with their loss to Tennessee. I'm taking New Orleans. There is no possible way under any circumstances, after what I saw last week from Tampa Bay at home against Tennessee when they got obliterated by Tennessee, there is no way I'm taking them on the road against the Saints, who usually play well in their building, although they didn't play great in their building last year. The Saints should be able to handle this awful Tampa Bay team. Winston looked lost yesterday. Couldn't move the ball last week. Couldn't move the ball from here to there. Their defense was shredded. I see no positives from Tampa Bay here. And I don't love New Orleans, but they are in the Superdome. Home opener. They do have Drew Brees. I think that's more than enough to beat Tampa Bay. I think the Saints cover the 10. I like New Orleans minus 10 against the dreadful Buccaneers. Let's go to pick number 4. Let's go to the Steel City in Pittsburgh, where the Pittsburgh Steelers are minus 6.5 against the San Francisco 49ers. Steelers 0-1. They had the loss to New England, where they made a million mistakes. San Francisco last night looked good in beating Minnesota. They're 1-0. San Francisco's defense played really well last night. I thought Hyde at running back was tremendous. Nice defense for the Niners last night. Nice running game. But I still don't trust San Francisco. Now, they looked good last night. Now they got a short week, got to go across the country to an angry bunch of Steelers who are waiting for them coming off the bad loss. The Steelers have had more time to prep for this game. They played last Thursday. So Steelers with a long week, Niners with a short week. I still don't trust the Niners offense. I mean, I think the Steelers may be able to shut down Hyde, and then, you still don't trust Kaepernick. You still know what you're going to get from him. I don't think the Niner defense will play well in Pittsburgh like they did last night against Minnesota. Pittsburgh looks like they're going to be able to put some points up this year. Pittsburgh being 0-1, the more desperate team, home opener. I still don't trust Kaepernick in that Niner offense. Short week for the Niners, long week for the Steelers. I think the Steelers bounce back. They handle the Niners. I like Pittsburgh minus 6.5 against San Francisco in the Steel City. Pick number 5, let's go to Minnesota, where the Minnesota Vikings are minus 3 against the Detroit Lions. Minnesota looked dreadful last night in losing to San Francisco. Couldn't move the ball from here to there. Adrian Peterson looked rusty. I mean, they didn't get much done at all on offense. Detroit, they looked bad against San Diego, got off to a good start, had a terrible second half. Detroit's defense does not look good at all. Remember, they lose Sue and Fairley to free agency. I don't think Detroit's defense is going to be good at all this year. Minnesota is one of these teams I think is going to be like 8-8. I think they're going to play well at home and probably bad on the road. Now remember, they're still playing at the University of Minnesota outside. They don't move into their new dome until next year. Still, I still think Minnesota's got a nice home field advantage. I think they will play better at home. I think Minnesota can handle Detroit. I think they can get some points on the board. They weren't able to do anything last night against the Niners. I think they'll get some points against Detroit. Being at home, outside, I don't like the Lion defense. I'm going to take the Vikings to bounce back here and beat the Lions. So I'm going to take Minnesota minus 3 against Detroit in Minnesota. Let's go up to Buffalo. Very nice game here where the New England Patriots are minus 1 against the Buffalo Bills. New England 1-0 beat Pittsburgh. Buffalo 1-0 just manhandled Indianapolis. I'll tell you, Buffalo made a believer out of me. They really did. They really did. I thought the quarterback played well, Taylor, last week. I thought the Rex Ryan had the troops fired up. I thought the defense was solid last week. And here's the thing about New England. Now, we all love Brady and Gronkowski and that offense. This New England defense is not going to be as good this year. They don't have the secondary like they did last year. I think Buffalo will be able to get some points on the board, and Buffalo's defense and special teams will be there the whole year if they can get any sort of points. You're going to have what you got last week. Buffalo can do some things. They really convinced me. The quarterback was very impressive last week, threw a nice deep ball to Percy Harvin. I like Buffalo here in the upset. I think Buffalo is going to beat New England. They're going to score some points. The defense is going to get after Brady. The Buffalo crowd is tremendous. I like Buffalo in the upset here, +1 over New England up in Buffalo. All right, let's go to Chicago, Soldier Field, one of my favorite stadiums in all of the NFL, where the Arizona Cardinals are -2 against the Chicago Bears. Arizona 1-0, Chicago 0-1. They lose to Green Bay. I am a believer in Arizona. With Carson Palmer back, I think they're going to be a good, solid football team. I was reading all the articles before the season. No one liked Arizona. I think Arizona is a good team. They got a shot at the playoffs, and I do not feel that way about the Bears. Now, I know the games in Chicago and Soldier Field and all that. I think Arizona's better. With Carson Palmer back, I think Arizona all over the field is better than Chicago. I don't trust Cutler. I mean, to me, he's always good for 1 or 2 interceptions. I think Arizona is the better team. The point spread shows that. Arizona favored on the road in Chicago. That says a lot. I'm going to take Arizona here. I think Arizona wins this game. I think they're just better than Chicago. Arizona -2 against the Bears is my next pick. Let's go to the Dog Pound in Cleveland, another one of my favorite stadiums. Here's a beautiful game. The Cleveland Browns and the Tennessee Titans are pick'em. Cleveland, of course, 0-1 was dreadful against the Jets. Tennessee looked tremendous last week against Tampa Bay. This is just a big mess of a game. I mean, I love the Cleveland Dog Pound, but they looked so dreadful last week. I can't take them. I never thought I'd do this. I am taking Tennessee on the road with Mariota, the rookie quarterback. Tennessee looked good last week. Mariota looked good. Cleveland looked atrocious, and I don't know if you're going to get Manziel again at quarterback. That's just a disaster waiting to happen. Even if Manziel doesn't play, the first string is just as bad. Cleveland's got no quarterback. They don't have Gordon for the year. They look like a complete mess. The Jets blew them off the field, and Tennessee looked good. I'm going to take Tennessee here, so I'll take Tennessee, pick them over Cleveland in the Dog Pound. I never thought I'd take Tennessee on the road this year, but there you go. I got to take them this week. All right, my next pick. Let's go down to D.C., where St. Louis is -3 against the Washington Redskins. St. Louis 1-0, had that great victory in overtime against Seattle. Washington 0-1, fell apart in the second half against Miami. Listen, no Jackson for Washington. That makes all the difference. When Jackson was playing last week, Washington was up 10-0. They looked like they can do some things. When he went out of the game, Washington couldn't move the ball from here to there. And St. Louis has a very good defense, an underrated defense. They can get after you. I think St. Louis is going to be a very improved team this year. They could be knocking on the door for the playoffs. I think St. Louis is much better than Washington. I will take St. Louis -3 against the Redskins down in D.C. I can't trust the Redskins with Cousins and no Jackson. I just can't do it. They had 10 points last week. Cannot do it. I'll take the Rams on the road. Next pick, let's go to the Meadowlands in New Jersey, not too far from here, where the New York Giants are -2.5 against the Atlanta Falcons. Giants are 0-1, had that despicable, disgraceful ending to the Dallas game. We know their defense is not any good. Pierre Paul, who knows about him this year? Atlanta, very nice win against Philly last night. They had a big lead. Philly caught up. Atlanta holds on, gets the victory. Nice win for Atlanta. I think Atlanta is going to win that division. I think that division is made to order for them. I mean, you got some bad teams in that division, like Tampa Bay, who's just dreadful. The Saints, you don't know what you're getting from them. I think this could be Atlanta's division this year. I really do. So I think Atlanta is going to score some points on that Giants secondary. I think the Giants secondary is just terrible. They tried to stay in the game against Dallas. They did all they could, but in the end, Dallas shredded them the last two drives. With Matt Ryan and those receivers, Jones and Roddy White on the outside, that's going to be more than enough to get the victory here. I don't like the Giants at all. Still don't know about Cruz this year, what you're going to get from him. The defense all banged up, no Pierre Paul. I don't like the Giants at all. I don't love Atlanta, but I think with their offense, they can do some things against the Giants. They'll eat up that secondary. I like Atlanta +2.5 against the New York Giants in the Meadowlands. Next pick, Baltimore 0-1 against Oakland 0-1 out in Oakland. This game is off the board because Carr, we don't know if he's going to play. Let me save you the suspense. If Carr plays or not, I'm taking Baltimore. Baltimore will win this game. I know Suggs is out. I know they had a heartbreaking loss last week to Denver. I know they have no receivers to stretch the field. I know their offensive line, Denver was all over them with the pass rush last week. I know all that. Did you see the way Oakland played last week? Oakland was awful. They got blown out by Cincinnati. There is no redeeming qualities about Oakland. I mean, and now with Carr hurt, he may miss the game. I mean, this could be a disastrous season for Oakland. I like Baltimore no matter what the spread is out in the black hole. Let's go down to Florida, where the Miami Dolphins are -6.5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Miami 1-0, had the come-from-behind win against Washington, had the big punt return. Jacksonville 0-1, had the bad loss to Carolina. Bortles just handed the game away with that terrible interception. From what I saw last week, Jacksonville is another team that can't move the ball from here to there. How do you take them? They had 9 points last week. I mean, Bortles almost gave away more points than he scored. I mean, he threw away an interception. I mean, I cannot take Jacksonville. They look like one of the worst teams in the league again. They can't move the ball from here to there. And I don't love Miami giving up these numbers. I really don't. 2 weeks in a row now, Miami's given up some numbers on the road. They covered last week. Always risky with the Dolphins because you never know what you're getting from them. But I think they can handle this Jacksonville team. And here's another thing. I think there's going to be a ton of Dolphin fans there in Jacksonville. I think they're going to buy most of the seats up. I think half the crowd's going to be Dolphin fans, so there'll be no home field advantage for Jacksonville. Might be a bigger home field advantage for Miami in this game. I will take the Dolphins minus 6.5 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The next pick, the Philadelphia Eagles at home, minus 4.5 against the Dallas Cowboys. Philly 0-1 lost to Atlanta last night. Dallas 1-0. They had the big come-from-behind win against the Giants. No Des Bryant. He could miss 2 months. I mean, to me, Philadelphia's a strange team. They are almost like a basketball team. They go on big runs back and forth. They give up 20, then they score 21 in a row. Back and forth, the swings with Philadelphia. You know they're going to give up a lot of points. You know they're going to score a lot of points, and they go on these runs. That's why I think they can't win big, Philadelphia. There's no consistency with them. They got behind last night 20-3 right away, then they rally, then they fall behind again. Big rallies both sides of the ball with Philadelphia. Dallas, listen, I know they don't have Bryant, but they got that big offensive line. With the protection Romo will get, he'll find some guys open. Some guys will get open for Dallas. Philadelphia will give up points, so I'm not worried about that. I think this is a shootout game. It's a big rivalry. I think Dallas will play better than they did last week. Do I think Dallas can win? If he asked me who I thought would win, I'd say Philly by 3. I think it's a 3-point game either way. It's a classic NFC East battle. I think the spread's a little high, though. I think the spread is this high just because of Bryant. But like I said, with that big offensive line, Romo's going to be able to find some other receivers open. Other guys are going to get open. You saw what happened in the Giant game. Bryant wasn't there. They marched down the field twice at the end of the game, Dallas. So I like Dallas to at least hang in this game. Philly probably wins, but I'll take Dallas plus 4.5 in Philadelphia. Here's a great game. Let's go to the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field where the Green Bay Packers are home, minus 3.5 against the Seattle Seahawks. Green Bay 1-0 beat Chicago. What else is new? Seattle 0-1 had the heartbreaking loss to Seattle lost to St. Louis. I'll tell you, Seattle's defense without Chancellor, not the same defense. They need him back. He's holding out. Have to get him back. Defense not the same. He's their leader in that secondary. Not the same defense at all. Green Bay, we know they lost Nelson for the year, but they got a plethora of receivers. They got Cobb, they got Jones, they got plenty of guys to step up. You know they're an offensive team, Green Bay. I think Green Bay is looking for revenge here. They lost that heartbreaking game out in Seattle last year. They could have went to the Super Bowl, Green Bay, if they just would have recovered an onside kick. I think they're looking for a little revenge here. In their building, Seattle's defense not the same. I think Green Bay smells blood in the water here. If you're going to get Seattle, maybe you get them now. This is an important game for home field. Green Bay wins this game. They already got a 2-game lead and the tiebreaker over Seattle if it comes down to that. And where would Green Bay rather play in the playoffs? In Lambeau or out in Seattle and have what happened to them last year? Huge game. I think Green Bay gets their revenge. I like Green Bay minus 3.5 against Seattle in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. Let's go to the jungle in Cincinnati, where the Cincinnati Bengals are minus 3 against the San Diego Chargers. Cincinnati 1-0, obliterated the Raiders. San Diego also 1-0, had the nice come-from-behind win against Detroit. This is San Diego, they're such a strange team. They're another one of these bizarre teams. I mean, they play almost 4 games in one game. They look bad, they look great, they look bad, they look great. I mean, up and down. Phillip Rivers 2 picks, then he looks great. Up and down we go. What you've noticed from Cincinnati the last 2 years is they have a very good home field advantage. They play very well in the jungle. They very rarely lose there. So I am going to take Cincinnati here. I think this will be a wild game. But I think Cincinnati, it's only 3. They play really well at home. Asking a lot for San Diego to go in there and win. I'll take Cincinnati at home. Minus 3 against the Chargers. That is a very fascinating game. You might want to keep an eye on that one as well. And then the Monday night game, the Indianapolis Colts at home, minus 7 against the New York Jets. Colts looked dreadful last week in losing to Buffalo. Jets look pretty good, although they did play Cleveland. Listen, I'd expect the Colts to bounce back and win on Monday night in their building. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, you have to figure the Colts are going to win. Spread is a tad high considering how bad the Colts looked. I may look to tease this game on Monday night, and I might look to move this spread to 1 and then play around with the over and under, depending on what the over and under is, maybe move it up or down. So I may tease this game, but I think the Colts are going to win. I'll look at this game more on Monday when I analyze that over and under. So I may move the line here from -7 to -1. I think the Colts win. The line's a little high, and then I'll play around with the over and under. We'll get into that more next Monday. But I like the Colts to win. The spread's a little high, though. So there you go. There are your NFL picks for week number 2 in review. Let's go through it one more time. The Thursday night game, which is an absolute Donnybrook. I like the Kansas City Chiefs at home, -3 against the Denver Broncos. As far as the Sunday games, I like Houston +3.5 at Carolina in a defensive battle. I like New Orleans at home in the Superdome, -10 against a dreadful Tampa Bay Buccaneer team. I like Pittsburgh at home, -6.5 against San Francisco. This is a bounce-back game for Pittsburgh. I think they'll be angry. A lot of time to prepare. 9 is short week coming across the country. I like the Steelers to bounce back there. I like Minnesota outdoors in Minnesota to beat the Detroit Lions. So I like Minnesota -3 against Detroit. I like Buffalo at home, +1 against New England. Buffalo really showed me something last week, and I don't like the New England secondary. I like Arizona -2 against Chicago at Soldier Field. I just think Arizona's better. I like Tennessee. Pick 'em over Cleveland in the dog pound. Never thought I'd take Tennessee on the road. Mariota impressed me. The team impressed me. And Cleveland was dreadful. And if Manziel plays, that's like 3 turnovers automatically for Cleveland. I like St. Louis -3 at Washington with no Jackson. I can't see Washington moving the ball at all. I like Atlanta +2.5 at the Giants. Atlanta has a very good offense. The Giants have a porous secondary. Plus, they still have no Cruz on offense. I don't like the Giants at all. I will take Atlanta on the road. I like Baltimore over Oakland. In Oakland, that game's off the board. But no matter what the spread is, I am not taking Oakland under any circumstances. Who knows about Carr? I like Miami -6.5 at Jacksonville. I think there'll be more Dolphin fans in the house than Jacksonville fans. Jacksonville, another team that can't score more than 10 points. I like Dallas +4.5 at Philadelphia in a classic NFC East shootout. I think it's a 3-point game either way. I think Philly probably wins it, but I think Dallas has enough to hang in with that offensive line. Philly gives up a lot of points. I think this is a shootout game. I'll take a chance with Dallas and the points there. I like Green Bay in the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field, -3.5 against Seattle. With Chancellor out, I don't like Seattle's defense right now. I don't like them going on the road here. I think Green Bay has been waiting for this game since the championship game last year when Green Bay absolutely blew that game in Seattle. Very big swing game early in the standings. This is a very important game. I think Green Bay is going to get the job done here. I like Cincinnati at home, -3 against the Chargers. Very, very interesting game. Very good game. Should be a wild game. I just like Cincinnati in the jungle. They have a very nice home field advantage now. I think Cincinnati gets the job done. And the Colts-Jets, I like the Colts at home against the Jets, but I'm probably going to move that line from -7 to -1, and then I'm going to play around with the over and under. We'll get to that more next Monday night, but I think the Colts will win the game at home on Monday night after their dreadful performance last week. They better win. You drop a home game to the Jets, could be a long year for the Colts. So those are my picks for Week 2 of the NFL. Now, let's get to Week 3 of the college football. We got some decent games this week. Let's get to it right now. Let's start with a Thursday night game. I usually don't pick the Thursday night game in college football, but I'm going to pick it this week. The Thursday night game, Clemson -6 over the Louisville Cardinals down there in Louisville. Clemson is 2-0, beat two, Sisters of the Poor the first 2 weeks. Watson is a tremendous quarterback. If you haven't seen Watson at quarterback for Clemson, check him out. He's lights out. He's dynamite. If he stays healthy, Clemson has a shot to get to that Final Four playoff. Louisville, a very disappointing 0-2. Lost to Auburn, and you saw Auburn almost lost to Jacksonville State last week, so that's not a good loss. And then they lost to Houston at home, so Louisville's 0-2. Make it 0-3. I know Clemson Not the same team out of Death Valley, but they have more than enough offense to beat an 0-2 Louisville team. I mean, I'm sorry. I have respect for Petrino and Louisville. I have respect for Petrino as far as a college coach. I don't like that he bails out on all the teams he's with, but that's another story. But Louisville here is overmatched. Clemson should score a lot. They should score early and often in this game. Louisville has no answer for Watson. Louisville lost to Auburn and Houston at home. I know Clemson is better than Houston. Clemson, -6 over Louisville, down in Louisville, is pick number 1. Louisville will go to 0-3. Pick number 2, let's go to the Saturday games. I never thought I'd pick this team in a million years, but I'm picking them. The Temple Owls are -10.5 against UMass, up in UMass. Temple is 2-0. Yes, 2-0. They blew out Penn State, and then they went on the road and beat a decent Cincinnati team coached by Tommy Tuberville in their newly renovated stadium. So Temple is impressing me, to say the least. UMass is 0-2 and got obliterated by Colorado. I'm sorry, that was UMass's first game. They've only played one game. They got obliterated by Colorado last week. What does that tell you? We know Colorado's not any good. They lost to Hawaii, of all teams. I never thought I'd do it, but Temple looks impressive. They beat Penn State by 17. They can handle this awful UMass team who's only been playing Division I football for a couple of seasons now. I think Temple rolls in this game. Never thought I'd do it. Temple -10.5 at UMass is pick number 2. Temple's going to go to 3-0. Pick number 3. Let's go to College Station in Texas, some of the greatest fans in all of college football. You talk about school spirit. Get down to Texas A&M Aggie Land for a game. You won't believe the school spirit they have down there. It is amazing. The crowd is just unbelievable. I mean, the Texas A&M fight songs are to die for. Texas A&M, great place to watch college football. I think Texas A&M could be a sleeper this year. They got the defensive coordinator from LSU to come over and coach their defense. You know Texas A&M can score. Their problem's been giving up points. Now they got a defensive coordinator. They've looked pretty good the first 2 weeks. They beat Arizona State, who you know can sling it. They shut them down. And this Nevada team is not any good. Texas A&M is 2-0, by the way. Nevada 1-1, beat UC Davis, ho-hum. Lost to Arizona at home by 24 points. That's not a good omen. I like Texas A&M to just obliterate Nevada in this game. I think this is a blowout of big proportions. I think this is going to be like a 59-14 game. I like Texas A&M not only to score a lot, but with that new and improved defense to shut down a bad Nevada team. Texas A&M is pick number 3. They will go to 3-0. Pick number 4, let's go between the hedges down in Athens, Georgia, where the Georgia Bulldogs are -17 against the South Carolina Gamecocks. Georgia 2-0, beat Vanderbilt last week. South Carolina is not a good team. They're 1-1, barely beat North Carolina, lost to Kentucky at home, and lost their quarterback for this game. And South Carolina, the first 2 weeks, cannot move the ball at all. That is bad going into, between the hedges against a very good Georgia team. Now, I usually don't like Georgia giving up a lot of points, but I like them here because I don't think South Carolina can score. They have not looked good at all in the first 2 weeks. I think this could be a rout. This game is usually close. I think it's a rout this year. I think Georgia just waxes South Carolina in Athens. I don't like this Gamecock team at all. No quarterback, can't score at all. Going on the road to a hostile environment. All Georgia, all day. I like Georgia to go to 3-0. Georgia rolls in this game. Georgia is pick number 4, -17 against South Carolina. Pick number 5, this is one of the better games of the weekend. LSU at home, -7.5 against Auburn. LSU 1-0, hung on against Mississippi State last week. Auburn 2-0, they held on against Louisville week 1. Then they beat Jacksonville State in overtime, a game they could have very easily lost. Last week's game told me all I need to know about Auburn. They barely beat Jacksonville State at home. The quarterback, who we all thought was going to be good, is really struggling. Now you got to go on the road to Death Valley. I know it's not a night game, it's a day game, a little different, but still, that place is a just snake pit to play. LSU Death Valley, put that on your bucket list. Put that right up there. You got to get to LSU Death Valley. It is an experience. I mean, you go a couple days before the game, they're already tailgating a few days before the game. LSU's got a very young team, but a very talented team, a ferocious defense, a great running game. This game also is usually close. I can't see Auburn putting up many points in this game. I think LSU with their home opener here is going to be all over this shaky Auburn quarterback. And I think LSU shuts down Auburn here. I like LSU in a big way in this game. I like LSU minus 7.5 against Auburn in Death Valley. That's one of the must-watch games of the weekend. Let's go up to Seattle, where the Washington Huskies are minus 6 against the Utah State Aggies. Washington is 1-1. They lost a tough game to Boise State. Utah State also 1-1. They can't score. They beat Southern Utah 12-9. Then they lost to Utah 24-14. So in 2 games, Utah State has scored 9 and 14. Now they got to go on the road to a hostile environment, and if you've ever been to Husky Stadium in Seattle, one of the loudest stadiums in all of college football, I like Peterson as the coach. I think Washington is way too much in their building for a Utah State team that I respect their program and what they've done. They can't score. That doesn't travel well. When you score 12 points against Southern Utah and then 14 points, that doesn't travel well. I'm sorry. I mean, they're going to have to put up more points to even stay in this game. I don't think they can do it. I think Washington will be all over them with their home crowd. Look for Washington to bury Utah State up in Seattle. I like Washington minus 6 against Utah State. Let's go out to the Coliseum in LA, where the USC Trojans are home and minus 10 against the Stanford Cardinals. USC is 2-0. They've beaten 2 little sisters of the poor. Stanford 1-1, lost to Northwestern of all teams and looked bad doing it, then beat a dreadful Central Florida team. I have not been impressed with Stanford at all so far this year, and I'll tell you what, I've watched Stanford a bunch of times the last few years. They play well at home. They do not play well on the road. This USC team can get to the Final Four this year. They got a dynamite quarterback. They look really good. I don't like Stanford at all. Stanford couldn't score against Northwestern. How are they going to score against USC? What did Stanford put up, like 6 points against Northwestern? I mean, I think USC routs Stanford in this game, and I respect the Stanford program and the coach. I like the coach, but I'm sorry. They're walking into a buzzsaw here. USC is a solid team, chance to get to the Final Four, and Stanford only put up 6 points against Northwestern. That's all you need to know. I like USC minus 10 against Stanford out in the Coliseum. Let's stay in Los Angeles. Let's go to the Rose Bowl, where the UCLA Bruins are minus 16 against the BYU Cougars. UCLA 2-0, and BYU also 2-0. BYU won 2 games on 2 Hail Marys with the backup quarterback. Now that's living right. Now I think that all comes crashing down this week. I think BYU has used up all their luck for the season. They're going against a very solid UCLA team. By the way, have you seen the freshman quarterback for UCLA? He looks really, really good. I think UCLA way too much for BYU. There'll be no miracles this week for BYU. There'll be no chance of Hail Marys. UCLA scores early and often. They pull away at the end of this game. There'll be no Hail Marys for BYU. They've used all their luck up. UCLA way too strong for BYU. UCLA minus 16 against BYU in the Rose Bowl. Let's go to Iowa City, where Iowa is minus 5.5 against the Pittsburgh Panthers. Iowa and Pitt both 2-0. Iowa beat Iowa State last week in a good rivalry matchup. Pittsburgh beat Youngstown State and Akron. I mean, not exactly Goliaths of the college football world. Here's the thing about Pittsburgh. You can't trust them on the road, especially against a decent team. Every time you think Pittsburgh is going to have a big season in college football, they'll go on the road against a team like this and they'll fall flat on their face. I cannot see Pittsburgh going to 3-0 here and winning in Iowa. I just can't. Iowa had a nice win against their rival last week. They're coming back home. Pittsburgh, I can't trust them. They barely eked out a win against Youngstown State. They beat Akron, who's awful. You can never trust Pittsburgh to win big anymore in college football. I will take Iowa at home, minus 5.5 against Pittsburgh in that game. All right, we got 2 games left to go. Let's go to South Bend, Indiana, where the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are minus 2 against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Georgia Tech 2-0. They've beaten the Little Sisters of the Poor twice. Notre Dame 2-0. They obliterated Texas, then escaped last week against Virginia. Lost their quarterback. Backup quarterback played well, had the game-winning drive. I'll tell you, how many times have you seen Notre Dame underdog at home? And I know they have the backup quarterback in there. You just don't see it. Notre Dame is never underdog at home. And I know that Georgia Tech offense with the triple option can be a handful. I just think Notre Dame is going to be riled up for this game. I think, they've heard that their season is over all week. I heard, without the quarterback, they can't do anything. I think they're going to, be really revved up to win this game and prove some people wrong. And I think Georgia Tech's a good team. I don't think they're a great team. I think Notre Dame here is going to pull off the upset at home. I think the backup quarterback will play well. I think they're going to play a lot better than they did last week against Virginia. I thought the game against Virginia was a trap game. They were looking past that game to this game. Notre Dame at home, with all the history and the ghosts, and all that, hallowed ground out there. I think it all comes, to fruition this week. I think Notre Dame pulls off the upset at home with the backup quarterback. They beat Georgia Tech. And by the way, I was watching Rudy the other day. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Rudy. Great movie, great sports movie. So I watched that movie and I got all fired up about Notre Dame being an underdog. As a matter of fact, one of the games they were playing in Rudy, it was Notre Dame against Georgia Tech. So I think Notre Dame pulls the upset here with the backup quarterback. I like Notre Dame to get all fired up with the ghosts and the history. Notre Dame wins at home. So I like Notre Dame +2 over Georgia Tech in an upset game there. Another must-watch game of the weekend. And then the big game of the weekend where College game day will be, the Alabama Crimson Tide at home, -7 against the Ole Miss Rebels. Both teams 2-0. Alabama had the win against Wisconsin. Ole Miss has put up 73 points the first 2 weeks. I mean, I know they haven't played anyone, but they have put up 73 points the first 2 weeks. I think this spread is a little high, showing no respect for Ole Miss. Now listen, I know it's always dangerous going against Alabama, especially in their own building, and I don't know if I'll pick Ole Miss to win. But I'm going to grab the 7 here. Ole Miss has showed me enough the first 2 weeks with that offense that I think they're going to be able to score some points. Alabama is still iffy at quarterback. They're still going back and forth on who's going to play at quarterback, so they're unsure about their quarterback play right now. Ole Miss can sling it all over the field. They can score a lot of points. I think that'll at least keep them in the game. Am I going to pick Ole Miss in an upset to win the game? No, I'm not going to go that far, but I'll grab the 7 points. I think this spread is a little high, showing no respect for Ole Miss. Ole Miss beat Alabama last year in the Grove. I think it's a close game. Alabama probably ekes it out, but I will take Ole Miss +7 in Tuscaloosa in the game of the day. That's where College game day is. Tremendous, tremendous game. Should be a great atmosphere, I'll tell you. Alabama Ole Miss is a must-watch. Georgia Tech Notre Dame is fascinating to see how Notre Dame plays with the backup quarterback. And LSU Auburn is always a good game, although I think LSU will have the better of it this year. So you got some games this week. You don't got too much. Some people would say USC Stanford is much must-watch. I don't think Stanford is all that great this year after they lost to Northwestern, but you have a few games. So let's review the picks for college football here in Week 3. I like Clemson on the Thursday night game, -6 at Louisville. I like Temple, -10.5 at UMass. I like Texas A&M at home, -34 against Nevada. I like Georgia at home, -17 against South Carolina. I like LSU at home, -7.5 against Auburn. I like Ole Miss +7 at Alabama to at least keep it close. I like Notre Dame at home, +2 against Georgia Tech. I want those ghosts and, all those spirits at Notre Dame and all their history and that hallowed ground. I want Notre Dame all fired up for this game. I think they will be. I think Notre Dame will surprise you this week. I like Notre Dame +2 over Georgia Tech in the upset. I like Washington at home in Seattle, -6 against Utah State. Utah State can't score. I like USC at home in the Coliseum, -10 over Stanford. Stanford lost to Northwestern. I like UCLA at home in the Rose Bowl, -16 against BYU. BYU's luck runs out. And I like Iowa at home in Iowa City, -5.5 against Pittsburgh. You just can't trust Pittsburgh in a big spot ever on the road. And those are my picks for Week 3 in college football. I should have mentioned yesterday, I didn't mention this game. Nice job by Toledo last week, upsetting Arkansas in Little Rock. I should have mentioned that yesterday. Really nice upset win for Toledo, so I should have mentioned that. Nice job by Toledo. Terrible loss for Arkansas. And another game you might want to keep your eye on this week, Miami at home against Nebraska. Those two teams, usually, back in the day were battling for national championships. Now they're battling to get into the top 25, so you might want to keep an eye on that game. Miami 2-0, Nebraska 1-1. Lost to BYU on the Hail Mary, of course. And if I was to have a bonus pick, I didn't pick this game, but I did write it down. Wisconsin at home, -35 against Troy. Wisconsin usually at home rolls over those teams. So if you want a bonus pick, I'll give you the Badgers at home in Madison. So there you go. You guys are all set. You have your NFL picks for week number 2. You have your college picks for week number 3. You got that tremendous Thursday night game this week, Denver and Kansas City. You got some good matchups in the NFL. You got some good matchups in college football. Should be a fun week of college and pro football over the weekend. You guys, thanks for the support as always. You guys stay happy, healthy, and safe. Enjoy the games. I will be back with you guys very, very soon. Take care.